Mercury, the planet that is a messenger of the gods, but also the lord of all the news that's fit to print, is escaping the clutches of the Pluto party, where he has been traveling for a few weeks and is moving now into the sign on February 23rd to March the 9th of Pisces, where he'll be swimming in the ocean with sea god Neptune, heavy duty handed taskmaster Saturn, the exciting asteroid Gonggong, the destructive water serpent, along with Hygeia and the sun. Hygeia is for medical healing. It's an interesting journey for Mercury, and we're going to talk about how it might play out for your sun, moon, and rising sign. Listen first for your rising sign, it'll be the most accurate, and then your sun and moon. Sun can be career and father figure, moon, mother figure. We'll also spend a bit of time talking about how this might impact the world, especially around difficulty at sea, in water and water events. And unfortunately, yes, hardship in water can involve naval warfare matters. We will take a little bit of time to talk about the world. Most of the time, we'll talk about how this transit may operate for you in a very positive way with a sextile to Jupiter, a very rare triple cazimi involving Saturn and the Sun and Mercury together at February 28th. But most important, also a really lovely wedge with Uranus and Juno coming up at the very tail end of this journey in the first week of March. Now, we can't cover every single thing that he does here. I'm going to highlight the best and most important for your sign, and we'll get going. By the way, welcome to my channel. If you are a regular, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac whole sign houses. My name is Lori Lothian. Love the fixed stars and the minor asteroids, which is why we're bringing good old Gonggong into the narrative today, that destructive Chinese water serpent that is known to be connected to catastrophes. So we can say water catastrophes with Saturn have been playing out since March of 2025 as these two planetary bodies. Gonggong is, I believe, a trans-Neptunian body. Saturn, of course, is an inner solar system planet. And these guys have been traveling together through the sign of Pisces. And it's been water hardship, Fukushima radiation water, capsizing ferry with a ton of refugees. Water hardship can be the Rio Grande in Texas and how people are trying to cross the border there from South America and Central America. Water hardship can be the Houthis bombing Red Sea ships to like protest against the Gaza story. Water hardship can be the submersible that imploded down by the Titanic last year, because this is all Saturn hardship and constraint in water. But also hardship around water can be Gazans without clean water, drinking salt water right now and looking at famine. So we see, and water hardship will be a story, unfortunately, in the world until February of 2026, when Saturn exits the sign of Pisces, where he's been hanging out with Neptune. So let's get going and talk about the sky in detail. Now, first of all, February 23rd, that's when Mercury gets his butt out of that Pluto party, where he would have been hanging with Pluto, Venus, and Mars and Mercury and the sun until the 19th of February. So that Pluto party, that weight of energy in the sign of Aquarius, is rare only because of Pluto's presence. The stellium is weighted by Pluto in Aquarius, where we see Pluto going to be now for the next 20 years in mostly Aquarius. He hightails it out to September, October to mid-November for a backtrack into Capricorn. I want to talk a little bit about that right now. Please bear with me. I love to do mundane astrology. I like to talk about world events. I'm kind of like a Pam Gregory and what's his name? Oh, Stephen Judd, is that his name? Anyway, the British guy. I like to look at how the sky reflects world events. But then I also like to tell you how they work for you by talking about your sun, moon, and rising sign in the second half of my video. So I blend together astrology pertaining to global and world events, as well as your own personal experience of the sky. So the beginning is that global story, and later it's all about you. Yes, you can jump to your chapters or timestamps, and you don't need to listen to my intro. All right, but just bear with me. Now, Steve Judd, that's what his name is, Doe, menopause brain. I adore his stuff. Less so Pam Gregory. I'm more of a Steve Judd fan. So basically, what's going on? I want to talk about Capricorn. Stephen Forrest had a wonderful newsletter. I subscribed to his newsletter, Evolutionary Astrologer, lovely man, taken a few of his classes over the years. And he had a write-up when Pluto was in the tail end of Capricorn last year before he segued into Aquarius. He may have written this even last year when Pluto was in Aquarius for March, April, May, into mid-June last year. He talked about the dark fathers, right? and how when Pluto went through Capricorn for 16 years, from 2008 to kind of getting out forever in end of 2024, we've been seeing this kind of rise and fall of the dark fathers, the Harvey Weinsteins, the Jeffrey Epsteins. He includes Netanyahu in his lineup of the dark fathers. And he talks about the dark fathers as the tyrannical, the ruthless, the savage, and the cruel use of power. Now, dark fathers can be women doing those same, archetypal energies, but I'm just suggesting that the dark father story is still playing out, as I mentioned in many of my videos, until we finish with the Pluto Capricorn journey, September, October, and November of 2024. And November 19th, we're done. And the rest of our lives, we don't have Pluto and Capricorn stories in effect. Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street, subprime loan scandal, things like this, the unearthing of the dark underbelly of the dark fathers. It has been a narrative since 2008, and there have been exposures after exposures because Pluto digs up the dirt. We're not done yet, because we will see in the fall more deep, dark exposure of what was hidden. Even the misuse of the pandemic, the big pharma payments to keep the media in line, the control the government tried to exert over scientists who suggested perhaps this particular protocols that were being adopted, whether they were extreme measures for lockdowns and isolation or particular medical procedures that had not really been proven to be safe and effective. More of the underbelly of power, wealth, greed, and agendas that come from that place of wanting to control and doing anything ruthless, cruel, and savage to get it will be revealed. And I'm bringing it up because when Pluto has moved into Aquarius, which we're experiencing now, we almost want to forget, the dark fathers and the darkness of that Pluto journey through Capricorn that came behind us. It was a part of the American Revolution that incited the United States to create its own country, but it has a dark side, right? So it's because I do think that anyone in their right mind will look at the old guard. I love how Steve Judd calls the United States, the two dinosaurs are battling it out, right? He calls them dinosaurs. That's Biden versus Trump. And you could definitely say both are dark fathers in their own right. Netanyahu, Stephen Forrest labels as a dark father. I agree. And there are agendas at play in the world that have led the United States to be in this world, bound so they have no seeming power to get Israel to cease and desist in any possible way for what Joe Biden recently said was over-the-top response to October 7th. Now, why? Why? Is the United States impotent and it cannot say, we're not sending you any more weapons, or this billion-dollar funding thing we just passed without Congress? No, the United States can say, no, we're not sending you money if you don't abide by what we're suggesting you do or not do. And as I record this for my Patreon community on February 11th, who gets this content early access and ad-free, so check my Patreon community below, I thought to myself, maybe Biden et al. And his government, whoever is in charge, is either invested in the displacement of the Palestinian people and the taking over of the Gaza Strip by Israel for some invested monetary reason, like the Ben Gurion Canal, like the offshore gas fields off of Gaza that belong to the Gazans according to the United Nations, but Israel's blocked them from developing them, or they're being blackmailed. But this is so obvious, right? It's so obvious that the United States is paying lip service to any kind of containment of what's going on in the Middle East that's got 2/3 of the world, if not 3/4, shocked and horrified, including the citizens of the United States, who, in the overwhelming majority, do not want this war to continue. And therefore, what's actually driving the power behind the power? What's actually the dark father story here? Expect that to be revealed September, October, November, as well as a bit of shock and awe regarding war and the development of a war situation with the Middle East, including the nation of Iran. That's all in the sky. Just like we see King Charles and Biden having a moon in the early degrees, 0 degrees of Taurus, squared by Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius, also activated by the 5-degree eclipse of October the 28th in Taurus 5 degrees. We've already seen the downfall of King Charles. I would call him Prince, or King Charles. I've been around since he's been Prince for so long. We already see that he will step down. Anybody who could have looked at his eclipse-ridden inauguration and know that that was inevitable, he probably planned it for the inevitability because, honestly, he has an astrologer. The royal family uses astrologers. But also Biden. This Pluto is squaring at 0 degrees his moon, which is his body and his health, in the house of his body and sickness. I mean, sickness, the 6th house of his natal sky, but also maybe the moon being popular or unpopular with the people because he's clearly throwing the election. And I'm talking astrology, not my personal beliefs. I'm Canadian. I'm saying Pluto square the moon of King Charles. You see where that's going, right? He's stepping down for health reasons. The moon is your body in the ancient tradition. Biden's body mind complex is being squared by the god of death and rebirth, as well as having been eclipsed by an eclipse October the 28th that's still playing out in our sky until at least the summer of 2024. If Biden makes it to the election, I will be abso-freaking-lutely shocked. I really will. Now, let's get back to this guy with Mercury. I'm bringing it up because Mercury is leaving the Pluto party. But before he leaves on February the 23rd, we may expect some kind of more deliverance of news connected to Joe Biden and more furthering developments with, of course, King Charles, because the news that comes from Aquarian places impacts the lunar position of both of those world leaders. As Mercury then slides across the fence into the Pisces whole sign real estate of the world's chart and your chart, everybody's chart is different, we're going to see the emergence of a new story. In this position of the slide of Mercury into Pisces, Mercury therefore moves into the part of the sky that represents, for instance, the workforce and the labor markets and the economic markets of Israel. We're probably going to find news that they're really down and out, that they don't have any workers to supply building and construction because those were Palestinians, right? It was an apartheid state. Second-class citizens did all the menial labor and then went back to the little fenced-off area, just like happened in South Africa. So we're going to see economic news about the challenges that Israel's having, labor force challenges and all of that for sure. That's an example of a world story, right? There's many different world stories that will occur with this narrative. In the United States, the 4th house represents the land, the people, the homeland, but it also represents Pisces, represents the opposing party to the Democratic Party, which will be the Republicans. Expect a lot of very potent and intense news stories because we have Asteroid Gonggong in the 4th house, as well as we have the Sun and Saturn. So there's going to be some very important news stories coming out from the Republican Party of the United States regarding the situation, maybe about the election, during the transit of February 23rd to March the 9th. The asteroid America is traveling through Capricorn right now, and that's the home and homeland of Israel. And it is also going to come into a very tight square, all right, a difficult angle in the next couple of weeks to the ascendant of Israel, which will clearly mean that the United States will become at odds with the agenda of the nation of Israel, even though it has been allied so far. You can see more noise coming out of the United States ever since the asteroid America entered into Capricorn, where it began to form a square to the ascendant of the nation of Israel. When did it enter Capricorn and when does it leave? It was on February 7th, 8th, depends on where you live, that the asteroid America entered Capricorn and began squaring the ascendant of Israel, also squaring the 7th house, which is Aries, of open enemies of Israel. And as that happened on that time frame, literally on the 8th, Joe Biden said that he felt that the response of Israel was over the top. And it's the very first time, other than a blip of indiscriminate bombing by Biden several months ago, that he has said any overt statement of opposition to the actions of the nation of Israel. You can expect that to heat up from the ingress of the asteroid into that part of the chart, which is going to continually connect to an opposition to Israel, or a square, but means it's difficult. And that asteroid will leave. Ceres will not leave. First of all, Ceres will square the ascendant of Israel in April. So in April, we begin to see a complete, maybe total unhinging, breaking away, or difficulty with USA and the Israel narrative. And then the the asteroid will stay, unfortunately, where did it go? I'm just looking in the back end. When does it leave? It Let me rephrase that. I apologize. The asteroid will actually square the ascendant of Israel on March the 22nd. Okay, March the 22nd. Put it on your calendars. And then it will move out of the sign of Capricorn by mid-April, but around April the 18th, 19th. So you can encounter, or we will encounter March 22nd, some kind of critical opposition or difficulty or struggle in America versus the Israel story. Just keep in mind, that's what I'm telling you. And let's go back and talk Mercury in escaping the Aquarian party, moving into Pisces, bringing news about water hardship. But in each of our lives, it can bring us something positive. Mercury can be a good messenger here for us. However, in the sign of Pisces is in his detriment. He doesn't do well in Jupiter's house. So we call that a place of his exile from his own happy kingdom. And his happy kingdom is across the way, Virgo. And so 180 degrees away. And so even though he can bring news and good information, he's also a little confused about the facts. He's a little unsure of the details. And, anything you hear coming through our news cycle, February 23rd to March the 9th, to do with naval warfare, Houthis, water issues, anything you hear about hardship and water can be a little bit of especially with Neptune here, a spin cycle news story, a propaganda news story, or a news story outright trying to manipulate and control. I am concerned with Gonggong traveling with Saturn in the sky, amongst many other things that I've talked about recently, including the Aquarius new moon square Uranus. We may expect some major calamity to do with water, floods, tsunamis, earthquakes, water problems coming through our sky February 23rd to March the 9th. Okay, just it is there. I can't pretend it's not there. Pisces, where Mercury's traveling, rules underprivileged, displaced, homeless, and refugee peoples. Underserved, underprivileged, down and out. And we know who's quite displaced. How about 2 million Gazans? So as Mercury comes through the house of the underprivileged, underserved, displaced peoples, you may expect Mercury's not delivering all the news you need. Neptune, confusion, illusion, delusion. Mercury not able to actually extract the details. He may not be trying to lie or tell untruths, but he can't get to those details because he's in a big picture place that belongs to Jupiter. And as he's moving through there, Jupiter is sitting in Taurus and getting ready to conjunct Uranus. And even though Jupiter can witness where Mercury's traveling in 2 signs over Taurus, he's unable to really necessarily straighten out the muddled confusion that Mercury has. You might expect some news stories coming from economies, governments, currencies, crypto stories. I'm talking about where Jupiter's sitting in Taurus. Stuff to do with land and property and earth and gardens, Taurus, and water and confusion around what's coming up. I think it's about redrawing a map. If you ask me, I think February 23rd to March 9th, there's an attempt for drawing up new landmass maps near places of water. So that certainly includes Gaza, no doubt about it. In the West Bank, they have a large aquifer underneath that serves to supply water to much of the West Bank and Israel, and it's very clean and clear. And that's another story about water hardships, and fights about water that could happen. But I would say that there may be some kind of attempt to corral the underprivileged, connected to water, connected to maps, connected to land and territory, Jupiter, that is coming into our news cycle, but we don't have all the information or all the news. And as I'm recording, because I know I'm going to do your sign, this is February the 11th. I don't know what's going to happen with the fact that Israel is coming up with a plan, the idea to evacuate the 2 million people crammed into Rafah, or the 1.5 million people crammed into Rafah, or whatever it is, or the south of Gaza, the last place they have to go. Well, at the same time, Egypt is building up border walls like you've never seen. That makes Trump's, build the wall look like nothing. There's no place to go other than to crush them maybe against the shore, maybe up into the shoreline. What are you going to do? Stick a bunch of people on the beaches in tents? With no supplies, no food, no water. So we're going to see this like crisis of the underprivileged, underserved refugees, also crisis with the Texas border thing and other places where the word underprivileged, underserved refugees, immigration of people is going to be playing a big role in the news cycle, February 23rd to March the 9th. Let's go ahead and show you the sky and then do your sign. Hopefully this wasn't boring for you. Here we go. This is it. And I'm teaching Sky Reader April 7th. So add 6 weeks, be your own astrologer, time your best life. Good for advanced, beginner, intermediate level people, in a sense that I find that I'm teaching you the basics of houses and planets and meanings. But if you're really, really never even looked at astrology wheels before and don't even know anything about it, it may not be the best place to start. I mean, that would be a boot camp of some sort that I haven't created. But if you already have astrological knowledge and curiosity and you want to learn how to use some very interesting and rare timing techniques to time your own best life and be your own astrologer that are easy enough to use without years of experience, please come join into my Sky Reader class this April. The wait list is in the description box below. Okay, so basically here we are. You can see what I'm talking about. I'll annotate and then we'll do your sign. I'm going to focus on the all signs to the March 1st time frame when we'll have an opposition from Mercury to Juno in Virgo, the goddess of partnership and agreements, and also treaties and contracts in each of our lives. This will not look like a peace treaty or all that. It'll look like more where we want to commit to an agreement around something, a vow. And we're going to have that Mercury around March the 1st in an opposition as he moves through Pisces. Oh, I'm in the wrong. Okay, let's fix it first. I'm in April because I was advancing the chart when I was talking to you about it. So let's get back here and move back to what we were showing you. Okay. So anyway, Mercury will be opposite Juno, and at the same time he's opposite Juno, he will be coming into a sextile to Uranus. I have a Mercury webinar about the cazimi that's happening around 28th of February, in which, well, in a sextile to Jupiter, Mercury is in a rare triple cazimi, rare with Saturn and the Sun. And we'll do a webinar on that on the 26th. It's free. Check out my description box below. You don't want to miss that. But also, of course, I'll do a separate video on it. Now, as you can see, when Mercury is opposite Juno, and that's going to happen on March 1st. Oh my God, I cannot get this to work, but I'll get to March 1st. What I want you to notice on March the 1st, ish, there we go, 14 and 13 is coming into an opposition. There is also at the same time a beautiful sextile to Lord Jupiter. Now, it's kind of an interesting time here because Mercury will have been talking with Jupiter first. If you go back and you see, oh, what's Mercury doing on February 29th, the leap year day? He's having a really good conversation with lucky Jupiter. And then he goes into a more deeper conversation with Juno. This wedge is still very active as this conversation unfolds March 1st and 2nd. And the wedge is a powerful kinetic release point of something good in the Jupiter-Taurus part of your sky regarding agreements, vows, contracts, communications, and deals. So we'll do that for your sign because I'll have a whole separate video of its very own special importance about the February 28th triple cazimi. Right, let's get rolling. And there's some minor things that Mercury does along the way, like he'll come into a square to Athena, the goddess of war, knowledge, and wisdom, while also sextiling Ceres. So I'll show you that particular story at this time. Here we have Mercury coming into a sextile to Ceres, the goddess of land, bounty, agriculture with Asteroid America. This is property, land, real estate, homeland of the nation of Israel, right up here. And Mercury, water, on the side of water, talks, communications, trying to communicate, negotiate something. That could be what that is. And at the same time, this is square, but and at the same time, you see Mercury in a square to Athena. Athena is about victory in war, and Mercury is in a difficult conversation with Athena in a place that represents the rising sign of Netanyahu, Biden, and United States of America, while also in a flowing conversation to things to do with America and land. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but it affects Netanyahu, Biden, and America in a great big way. February the 24th, and I'd say February 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And then on February the 28th, we have that cazimi. Maybe I'll show it to you for those of you who are learning astrology. So you see what a triple cazimi looks like. Sun, 9 degrees. Mercury, well, it's a little off by a day. Sun at 9 degrees, Mercury at 9 degrees, Saturn at 9 degrees. It's actually quite exact. The three of them are all under the beams of the sun. Like the sun is there and Saturn is invisible, and so is Mercury under the beams of the sun, resetting an agenda in a very, very rare way for everybody in the Pisces part of their sky. For me as an Aquarius rising, it's about I'm resetting my earning structures and directions over the course of that cazimi and into the 6 or so weeks that follow. So we'll do a webinar on that. And then finally, at the end of the whole story, I mentioned we're going to talk about the wedge in opposition to Juno. And that wedge will also be in that flow to Jupiter and Uranus in a sextile. So intense kinetic energy ongoing around March the 1st. So let's do your sign. And I'm going to stop the share just briefly to say, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications if you don't mind. It helps the channel grow. And if the channel grows, I grow. If the channel thrives, I thrive, and keep on presenting 30 to 40 videos a month for you. And don't forget, if you've never met me before, I'm doing the Western Tropical Whole Sign House System. And if you want to learn how to cast your chart in whole sign houses, I have a webinar below. Under my description box, click the more. I have a wait list for readings with me because I'm full right now. Click the button for that. Sky Reader, find it all below in the description box below. I'm wearing these earrings that I really like. I've got no money I get from them. They're by Coppertus Woo. And I have a code that I think is still active for 15% off for his jewelry. And these are supposed to be like snake rattle tails, and I love them. So I'll put the link below too. I share a lot of jewelry because I'm a Venus and Taurus and I'm a jewelry lover. And I have all kinds of beautiful fine art in my home from friends and family and people I know. I think I have, I think I have a fingerprint on my crappy camera. Sorry about the smudgy look today, but I'm not going to fix it now. Let's get going and talk about the sky in terms of your sign. And thanks to all my regulars who keep coming back, Ace of Spades, Misbehaving, Herbal Empress, Psychic Readings with Rose, L.A. Taylor, Serge LaBelle, Michael Thrash, Linda Calder, Melissa Carey, and more. Thank you for being a part of my crew. I do live premieres on all of my videos, meaning that I'm in mostly all of them anyway. And I'm in the live premiere taking your questions and listening to my own content with you in the chat box where we get to learn more about each other and about the astrology of the day. All right, so let's start with Aries and then we'll move through the zodiac. First of all, before I start with Aries, I need to move my house system out of the current one. So I should do that when I'm not with you. I am coming to you today after 2 clients and teaching a Patreon community class. So if I seem a little out of it, I probably am. And I'm getting ready to go out to dinner tonight at a girlfriend's house. So I'm with my soulmate, James. There we go. This is late in the day for me. I'm now at 4 o'clock and 4 minutes as I'm talking to you. All right. Oh, you got to be kidding me. I know you guys can see the chart. It just disappeared on me. All right. Let's get rolling. Aries, sun, moon, rising sign. So once a year or so, Mercury's moving through your 12th house. This is a house where you experience your dreams at night, and he is a dream messenger. With Neptune here, it doubles down. If you're an Aries rising especially, you're going to find that this is a very rich time for your inner life, insights, meditations, and dreams at night, coming into deep awareness of things that have been unnecessarily or necessarily unknown to you. Discovering the unknown in your own soul and in deeper layers of your being. February 23rd to March the 9th. Mercury here can entail communications from far off lands and shores and people who dwell there, but also a focus on earnings and money that you make with borderless income, international revenue. In our modern astrology day, in our modern world, that can be PayPal and Stripe revenues. Also, this is a hidden house, and there's a lot of conversation going on behind the scenes, including deal making and negotiations. And maybe that's a part of what you're up to. And during the time of this February 23rd to March 9th transit. And, in essence, as he's going through this part of your sky, he's, more or less having a very good chat with Jupiter in the house of your earnings. And so there's a general vibe here that there's a lot to do with your resources, earnings, possessions, and finances that you're focused on, but in the back room and in the quiet of your own inner life. Maybe you're working on new plans or schemes. Of course, there's always missing the details that Mercury has when he's here. So get someone else to look over your ideas and do a double check with, someone else to make sure you haven't missed something as you plot your financial world domination. Now, as we continue forward and we move into the time that every sign is going to look at, like I'm going to focus on this for all of you, I want you to pay attention to the fact that Mercury will come into an opposition to Juno while also having a chat with Jupiter, forming a wedge in the sky. It might actually be useful for me to delete everything but the wedge so that this picture is extraordinarily simple for most people, and you're not looking at all the chaos that I'm showing you, right? Okay, we want that, but we don't need a lot of other people. We'll keep in Juno, and we don't even really need the nodes, so we can get rid of that. And we can also get rid of, well, the Pluto party people. You don't really need them. We know where they all sit, right? The Pluto parties in Pluto's land. What else can we get rid of? We need Neptune in there. Uranus we want to keep. Jupiter, yeah. Mars is in the Pluto party. Okay, let's just make it simple, right? That to me, that's what we need to be seeing today as I navigate the chart here. So now you see how clean that wedge looks, right? I didn't even need to leave Chiron in, but I did. So what's going on here? Basically, you're looking at that wedge playing a big role starting around February 28th, 29th, March 1st, March 2nd, in that window of time. And this is like, where are you focused on some agreement regarding rental properties, rental contracts, right? Things to do with pets, things to do with debts, and also 12th house matters, backroom deals and negotiations, things to do with your inner life, your own self undoing. Sometimes we don't realize that we tend to be our own worst enemy, and that's where that part of the sky is. And also, as Mercury comes through here, he has a nice conversation with the moon in the house of taxes and chunky money, but also the moon flowing to the fourth house. So real estate, home, fourth house matters, things to do with chunky money, rental agreements, contracts is in the dialogue of your story at this time. At the same time, we see that Jupiter is breaking up a tension. Do you need to make a rental contract agreement, a pet agreement, a debt agreement? Do you need to sign a deal here? This is a Juno story in the house that belongs to Mercury, right? So you're looking at those areas of your life, trying to have clarity, and you're maybe a little muddled with Mercury and Pisces. And then you be unable to make a decision, right? Yes, no, yes, no. And then Jupiter's trying to say, here, go this way. This is resourceful, financial, and positive developments by agreeing to partner with somebody in work, agreeing to sign a new lease regarding property or lease out your property, agreeing to take that new job, sign a contract for a new job, right? You do have series for abundance right now in your, or fruitfulness in your house of career. And so sign a deal for that new job through backroom deals and negotiations that may not be public. It's like getting a job offer off the table before they've advertised it. That increases your financial well-being. Let's go on to the Taurus narrative. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. All right, just shoot me already. I did edit the chart to go to whole sign houses, and it doesn't hold on this darn software. Give me a minute. Oh, edit chart, whole sign houses. So it won't let me navigate forward without changing it, but I did, see, look, there you go. Like, seriously. This is Lori getting pissed off at the software. Astro Gold, should you want to know, for Mac. All right, Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. Mercury is moving in your 11th house through Pisces, March the 23rd to February 23rd to March the 9th. In a nutshell, the suggestion here is that you're having more social time, hanging out with friends, enjoying your friendship groups and circles, having fun. Watch out for overdoing the alcohol or addictions with your friends, Neptune, but it should be more or less conservative, but fun time with your social groups, friends, and everything. The energy here is something to say. Also, when he's going through this part of your sky, he's eventually wanting you to look at the things that have to do with contracts, agreements, and vows with your children, with your romantic partner, or with entrepreneurial endeavors. This energy suggests that you could find yourself in a lovely connection to an agreement you want to make with that child, an agreement you want to make with that entrepreneurial business partner or romantic partner. And it requires that you pay attention to it in order to generate a great bounty of luck, success, joy and wealth with yourself. Now, honestly, this is Mercury's house, the fifth house, and he's looking at it from across the way where he's in detriment. He'd like nothing better than to get out of his place of uncomfort, and his place of his fall and move over to a place of his exaltation. And so there may be a call to make some agreements with a romantic partner or a child to pull a little bit away from where you're spending so much time in your social groups of belonging, friendships, and networks, and spend a little more time enjoying your romantic pleasures and agreements with your romantic partner, or also with your children. Now, what we see here for Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising is the yearly movement of Mercury through Pisces. And this is February 23rd to March the 9th. And as he moves through your 10th house, he's trying to give you more opportunities for deals, negotiations, conversations, and agreements, perhaps, around work and career opportunities. Sometimes he makes you very communicative, especially given he's up there with the sun and he's got that Cazimi coming. It could be a real reset of your public reputation if you use communication as a tool, especially in Pisces. It's like you a motivational, inspiring communicator. And if that's true in your job or career space, this is a time of year where you're focused on those messages you wish to deliver through your visible reputation, February 23rd to March the 9th. It's also good for promotion. If there's something you want to promote to your audience or marketplace and you want to share that in a promotional window, that's also positive. Now, at the same time, Mercury will be opposing Juno. And that's just a tension between what do you need to make an agreement on regarding homeland, property, real estate, and your home life. And with the moon here, there can be even indeed some agreements around pets and tenancies or debts that it comes to your attention. And certainly there's a possibility even of you having to draw your attention. This is around the 28th of February through to the 2nd of March. Draw your attention to some agreements you need to make in your domestic and home environment. Whether they're legal or not is almost irrelevant. It's pulling your attention towards your private and home life. It may be an agreement that's more emotionally satisfying, sextiling a moon, with somebody that you cohabitate with. It may be an agreement regarding a potential refinance of a property legally, and you have to pull all your attention away from Mercury's bedazzlement in the 10th house, where he's got motivational words, but not necessarily the details, and move his attention to the place of his exaltation, which is, again, what is demanding your attention, that needs your attention, that Jupiter says, if you pay attention to it, you're going to find value and success in the 12th house. 12th house, foreign shore revenue, foreign land travel, things to do with agreements, right, to real estate, home property, foreign lands, and foreign shores. What are you doing? Are you going to make an agreement with a foreigner around the place that you're living in, renting, or owning? Are you going to travel to a foreign land in order to look at some property? What is commanding your attention here? If you have any kind of need to bust out and eradicate any self-undoings and addictions, there's certainly a possibility that making agreements with your mother or your father or your family of origin or your home and homeland or domestic life can help you bust free of any self-undoing that can actually hold you back from career success as well. All right, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. This is the energy of the sky that suggests you may be having a February 23rd to March 9th, intense amount of energy focused on your 9th house. I mean, with Saturn here, you're very serious about your spiritual philosophy, faith, and also third marriages, foreign shores, foreign lands, academics, and maybe even book publishing. You were trying to work it up here with Saturn. Now, Mercury's up here, a little confused, sometimes a little missing the details, but he wants to support you in a flow to your identity or your sun or your moon. And it's going to be an interesting journey because he's very good up here at travel, especially foreign shore travel plans or actually taking a trip, February 23rd to March the 9th, because he protects the travelers on the pilgrimage. And this is a pilgrimage travel house. So you have some divine protection, orchestration of foreign shore trips, but also maybe some good negotiations and deal making possible when it comes to legal and court matters or book publishing deals. Now, when he's up here, he's also going to, around the 28th of February to March the 2nd, form a wedge in the sky to Juno and Jupiter. And by the way, that's the king and queen of Mount Olympus. And this can look like some excessively positive developments in your great gains from your career, situations with elder siblings, larger groups of friends, and social groups of belonging. As it pertains to agreements you make regarding siblings younger, neighbors, neighborhood, short distance travel. There's a lot of travel axis active here. You make a plan to travel with a sibling younger or older, agreements around neighborhood events, neighborhood things, or online world as well. What kind of partnership or alliance do you want to make in your online world, or in writing projects even, that could fortify some greater gains in your career and some greater success professionally? Because let's face it, you're making a lot more money with Jupiter here until the end of May this year. Leo, sun, moon, and rising. I'm just going to pause the recording, Leo, just for a sec. I got a inbound call and I need to take it. Love you guys. All right, Leo, let's get back to you guys. All right. Here we have Leo, sun, moon, and rising coming through the sky. What's going on is you've got this transit in the chunky money house of Mercury, February 23rd to March the 9th. In general, when he's here, it may not be the best time to make major decisions regarding inheritances, investments in the markets, 401k, savings, credit cards. It's definitely not good with Mercury and Neptune here because that's very swindly. So be careful around financial storylines for yourself. You may be making decisions anytime he's here that may not be, especially with Neptune here since 2011, may not be that well informed. So be careful for that. But nonetheless, as Mercury moves through your eighth house of chunky money, he's in a conversation with, Jupiter, in a long-standing conversation. And a lot of things that happen here during this February 23rd to March 9th transit can be really good for your career and reputation as it pertains to your finances, but also creating revenue in chunks like passive income, severance packages, sign-on bonuses, and things like that. When Mercury's here as well, he will be doing a lot of cool stuff, including a rare triple Cazimi that can reset your finances. But I'll be doing a whole separate video on that, and my webinar, of course, which I keep forgetting to mention, that's coming out, free webinar on the 26th. It's live with a replay, so check that out. What else? This is what I want to focus on just for the all signs, is that Mercury will, on the 28th of February to March the 2nd, Mercury will form a opposition to Juno, the goddess of vows, agreements, and contracts, but also sometimes money and moneta, especially in the second house, coinage, money. And there will be as well a sextile to Jupiter. In this case, there's two things. You may want to partner up with agreements regarding contracts, agreements, and career and business opportunities, money, career, agreements, signing on the dotted line for a new job, that kind of thing, around the 28th of February, add 4 days. But on the other hand, at the same time, you might also look at this as moneta, the other side of Juno, the goddess of coins. And maybe you're looking at some kind of financial opportunity involving a career development, and just get someone to look at the small print, fine print of any agreements you make around financial matters and career matters. Jupiter wants to bring something surprising and positive with Uranus up here, and you're really feeling that moving through your sky in a very powerful way around that February the 29th onward at 4 days, 28th, 29th, 30th, 1, 2. I guess in the moon is Scorpio here during this time frame can be strongly indicating also a focus on matters of your home, and maybe looking at things to do with home versus career, the nest versus career, and refinancing, real estate, mortgages, money that you might have involved with a marriage type partner, and decisions around real estate and the nest. And there's a sense then, if that's true, that you could find that you're making decisions about finances and the nest during the time of this thing of maybe to spend money, take money as savings to develop some kind of something in the nest, the home, and regarding financial stories. Maybe, yeah, refinancing a home, buying a home, agreeing to possess or purchase a home, or to sell a home can be something that the sky can bring towards you with Mercury in the eighth. But again, look for those legalize on any kind of contracts, especially because you're not likely to have a clear angle on the details. February, yeah, here we go. 23rd to March the 9th. We always want to talk about Mercury moving through the house of your significant marriage partner. This is the one you're with, monogamous, long-term committed, whether you're legally married or not. And there are lots of conversations that happen here. And every year when Mercury goes through your seventh house, maybe your partner's a chatty Cathy. Maybe they want to resolve something. Maybe they're communicating, especially with Neptune, in a way that's really not clear, hopefully not manipulative, but maybe confusing, foggy, or confusing communications coming from your business or main squeeze love partner during this transit. Saturn says they could be melancholic, cool, isolated, or just very serious lately, and will be through to February 26th. But Saturn for every Virgo is testing your relationship to see if it's going to last. Is it the relationship for you or not? And that testing is going to be now added to with Mercury Neptune energy, February 23rd to March the 29th. You're looking at life through the lens of Juno, commitment, vows, hanging in there or not. She will activate divorce as much as she activates marriage. So at this point, it looks like you're trying to figure out your levels of commitment or vows of commitment, as this asteroid is continually asking you to consider the variable of commitment. It is retrograde, of course. You could be going back to a commitment you've already made with your significant other and recommitting to it in deep and long and maybe fuzzy communications. Around the 28th to the March 2nd, there is this energy that says you may find some exciting developments for foreign travel or foreign shores, legal outcomes and agreements and contracts, book publishing deals, and things to do with academic success as a result of how you're focused on this seventh house right here. There can be some good news coming from a significant other that shows up as, hey, we're going to travel to another country. Hey, this legal matter is going to be working out. The contract, the deal, the negotiation that you're wanting, Juno in the house of you, looks like it will resolve legally in your favor. With the moon involved in Scorpio in your third house, the question is about travel yet again. There's a lot going on here in the travel story for some of you, but also maybe things to do with legal agreements and contracts to do with the local environment, your neighbors, and your neighborhood as well. Jupiter rules your fourth house of property, home, and real estate. And Saturn rules your sixth house of rentals. I mean, there can be for some of you some kind of conversation going on around rental properties and real estate property storylines during this window of February 28th to March the 2nd, involving your significant marriage partner. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. You got the energy of February 23rd to March the 9th. Good old Mercury traveling through your sixth house of pets, tenancy agreements, debts, workaday stuff, and health. Now, certainly when Mercury's here, I wouldn't trust your lab results from the whatever blood work you got, because it's likely with Neptune to be wrong, or they swapped your blood with someone else, or the results are inconclusive. So you will just wait till this transit's over by March 9th to get some clarity. But also, this is also confusion around pets, so your pets having health matters that are unresolvable, confusing, or nebulous. Or if you're trying to buy a pet under this, I suggest you wait, because the breeder, for example, or the pet store is not giving you the truth about the breed, the pet, the health, the provenance of the animal. So I would wait it out, honestly. Especially given that Juno is also in the house of big animals. This is domestic animals. Did you want to have a contract to purchase an animal and spend a bunch of money on it? Wait. I would wait until Mercury gets out of this confusing zone. When Mercury's here, it's good for deals and contracts around and negotiations, communications around job opportunities. And with the moon in our earnings house is ruler of the 10th, just for some of you, this can definitely look like a job opportunity emerging for you. But again, you need fine print readers because you don't see everything you need to see. And the moon is not in great shape either. She's in the sign of her fall. So don't necessarily trust the details around job contracts, offers, and agreements affecting your career. Have a second set of eyes on it just to be careful. I know it looks like a mystic rectangle. That's because the moon's moving forward. And it is indeed a mystic rectangle on February 29th. For the, especially, I keep moving us further down in the day, right? So I didn't call this a mystic rectangle chart, which I could have. But we're really just focused on the primary wedge here. But I would say, knowing that there's a mystic rectangle for all signs, difficult circumstances that feel like lemons want to turn into lemonades, right? Between February 28th and 29th. Um, Are you also looking at paying off a debt, like a credit card or a mortgage or something like that with this combination, and you need to sign a backroom deal or negotiation off the books with somebody? This could look like borrowing money behind the scenes, getting a familial loan or something like that on the go, where you have private financing or private financial deals working on your behalf, including backroom deals and negotiations around legacy wealth, inheritance monies, especially from elders in your family like grandparents. Alrighty. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising, February 23rd to March the 9th. Mercury is moving through your fifth house of romantic love and children, fertility and pregnancy, creativity and entrepreneurial things, fun, play, pleasure. It can make you more sociable and more active, in pleasurable activities with romantic overtones, February 23rd to March the 9th. And, possibly even with this transit, news around fertility or pregnancy or good news stories trying to emerge here around creative projects or entrepreneurial endeavors. If you have a creative or entrepreneurial, a creative artistic project or entrepreneurial project that you've been working on, because there is a sextile from the 28th of February to March the 2nd to Jupiter in the house of the marketplace and audience and legal contracts, this can look like all of that. Surprising, positive, hitting the marketplace, target your art gallery thing sells out, your entrepreneurial business reaches the proper market, your getting some luck around legal agreements to do with creative projects and entrepreneurial business endeavors, which is wonderful. But, you've got to also note that Juno, the goddess of agreements, is across the way looking over at this story. And, Mercury's trying to engage her in the sign of his home sign here. And it's like, what agreements do you need to make with an elder sibling, with a benefactor friend as an ally, or something with your career situation that involves greater financial gain? And if you're looking to make agreements and vows in that area of your chart, which is fine, it does outplay as good stuff happening in your marriage. If you have a long-term committed love story, whatever this romantic agreement you might make, turbocharged by maybe a friend or an ally, it's going to play out as positive marital type developments. The moon also says that you're very much in your own space emotionally. You're like aligned with your emotions and your feelings about the situation, and you're feeling very matrilineal, motherly toward fifth house matters. You may be looking at this as a child, right? You have children in the fifth house for some Scorpios who are adults with children. And there's a tender looking at your house of children to have conversations with a child that are mutually beneficial and lead to longer range agreements that you both can lean on in the long haul. All right. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. Here we have Mercury moving through the sign of Pisces, which is Jupiter territory, owned by your ruler. It can be a little bit difficult when he's here because he's a little muddled in his details, but trying his best to go through the house of homeland, property, real estate, and trips. Potentially, what we're seeing here is some kind of opportunity. Oh, not trips, but don't forget the trips. Home, property, land, real estate, domestic, private life. What kinds of conversations are percolating throughout this journey, February 23rd to March the 9th, with people that you're living with? But he does market, merchandise, and sell. And possibly you may be looking at marketing, merchandising, or selling a property, or renting or leasing a property with Jupiter in the sixth house of leases. Also, agreements regarding work can be percolating during this month that are very positive as it pertains to how you work in or communicate in from your home. This looks like opportunities from some Sages to get work in and from your home, employment, job, agreement, 10th house in and from your home. The 28th of February through the 2nd of March, this is where it looks like you could get a new job connected to home, homeland, or a home-based job or an agreement from your employer to work from home, for example. And with the moon in the 12th house connected to this story by flow, the lunation suggests there's also the opportunity here for some of you, Sag, Sun, Moon, and Rising, to benefit from foreign land, shores, travel, spending some time homing yourself in another far, far off country, or work opportunities involve travel and foreign places, and an acknowledgement that those things will likely show up for you again, February 28th to March the 2nd. All right, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Mercury traveling February 23rd through to March the 9th. Every year or so, there's this journey around this time of year, and he's in your third house of trips and travel. He is a protector for travelers. This is a writing house, communicating house, social media house, neighbors and neighborhood, siblings, younger, especially cousins, aunts, uncles, and all of the extended family. What could you be doing here in this kitchen sink junk drawer box thingy of the third house? If you're a writer, you're writing, right? You got dreamy storytelling, imaginative writing going on. Yay, you. If you're not a writer, there may be travel. He does connect to travel quite often. And if you do travel, you may be traveling shorter distances, not far off places between February 23rd and March the 9th. We're going to come into this wedge that opens up some really lovely things to do with your children, your romantic and sexual life, and your romantic partner. And it can look like an opportunity for a getaway trip, a leisure trip being formed February 23rd to March 9th, or taken in that window. But more acutely positive, February 28th to March the 2nd looks like a journey you may take with a loved one, a beloved, a romantic partner, or to see your child or to connect with a child. Skills-based learning can be opening up an opportunity for you to learn something you have a natural talent at and to enroll in some kind of study, February 23rd to March 9th, but more especially the 28th to March the 2nd. I think this contract agreement can be an agreement or a contract or a vow connected to ninth house matters, academics, book publishing, really good for caps who want to get that book deal, and things maybe to do with agreements with foreigners or foreign shore places. You know, I do think that Mercury wants to travel. He may be, because he's in his exile here or his fall, want to travel abroad, and there may be some travel abroad opportunity connected to entrepreneurial endeavors, independent business endeavors, romantic partners, or children coming through this sky for you. So with the moon flowing to this whole thing from the 11th house of good spirit, elder siblings and friends who treat you as benefactors and patreons and allies for you are going to step up for you here and offer some assistance regarding either those travel themes, those creative projects, those romantic themes, or your children. You may make a contractual agreement with a foreigner who favors you as an ally. That's another story that could be going on here. A lot of this is most active, as I said, at the very end of February and the very beginning of March. Okay, Aquarius, I am one of you. The story is speaking to us about the journey of Mercury through our earnings house, our possession, self-worth, and our voice as well. It is a time in which we are able to communicate effectively if we want to be inspirational and dreamy, but it's not necessarily a great time when it comes to looking deeply into the details and the structures that Saturn wants us to establish until 2026 in how we earn money. And so be cautious here, especially, any time between February 23rd and March 9th, that you don't have some dreamy but ill-formed ideas of what you need to buy or sell, Mercury here, or establish as a new structure in your earnings story. You might want to wait until after March 9th before instituting something brand new in your earnings strategies. But Mercury likes to buy things because he markets and sells, and so you might be looking at buying something that connects to homeland property and real estate, or selling something, or something in your home. But be careful, right? Because he's not in his best shape here. He's opposite Juno around the 28th of February to March the 2nd, forming a wedge. And this can look like some contracts, agreements, deals, vows, partnerships in business, in things to do with jointly held finances with another, business and love partners, with agreements and contracts and vows to do with taxes and accountants and stock investments and chunky money. February 23rd to March 9th does involve tax season. So you be very scrutinous about your taxes and how you file under this energy, because even though Juno is in Mercury's sign for agreements and vows, including signing off on a tax document, I'm not so crazy about Mercury being befuddled here. And I might insist you wait until after March 9th before finalizing any tax agreements. However, the long arc is bounty and prosperity in and from the home. And technically, this can look like a mortgage refinance or an opportunity to purchase a property. Just wait it's not that Mercury here says no. Saturn wants structure and discipline, but he is close to Neptune and he can be befuddled and not so sure about the lay of a financial opportunity involving real estate and property. The moon is sitting at the top of the sky, flowing to this also Mercury story during the 28th, 29th of February, March 1st and 2nd. You could have some really good career glow up in some way that increases your financial well-being at that time. And with the moon up here, also the moon is collaborating with Juno in the house of chunky money. So also the moon is about nest and safety and home, but she's in the 10th house of the visible reputation in the sign of her detriment or her fall. So there can be some high-flying opportunities regarding your money and your career, but be careful again, a planet in its fall may not be the best ally here. With Mars moving through Capricorn, owner of this part of the sky, there may be opportunities as well for foreign shore land revenue income coming through for Aquarians, February 28th to March the 2nd. Just again, get keen eyes on the legal details. And with the moon up here is like, this is a fame placement, a temporary bit of fame up here, or something where people are paying attention to you and really liking what's going on. And the moon's coming off being full, but it's still pretty bright. It's a waning gibbous moon. And you may just have a little bit of public attention on the 28th to March the 2nd. And it can be really good to do with your long-range finances and maybe new opportunities in business partnerships that emerges from some appearances of you in the career space. All right, Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising, and you are looking at Mercury in the sign of you every year this time around, February 23rd to March the 9th. You are more communicative, social, you're more fickle in your decisions at this time. You're more mercurial. Mercury's in his joy in the first house, which isn't a bad thing. You are more able to and desirous of communication, although you're also still Neptune transit through the sign of you, and that's been true since 2011, and your communication may come across to others as dreamy, wistful, or communicating in a way that's unclear or foggy or hard for people to understand you. So there's that as well. With Mercury going through here, though, Saturn is making you sober-minded, realistic, and stable, and you're looking at that Saturn transit as how you might want to, not necessarily have to, form new structures for your identity that allow for a better and more fluid style of communication over the course of this February 23rd to March the 9th transit. With this energy continually suggesting Jupiter wants to help you with trips and travel, the online world, courses and websites, skills-based learning. A lot of you may have an opportunity February 23rd to March the 9th to take a course or to teach a course to enhance your success with your neighbors and neighborhood, developing lucky and prosperous things with a younger sibling or aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, and nephew. All of that's very lovely. And you can say that like the 28th of February to March the 2nd, when we see the opposition to Juno, while at the same time the sextile to Jupiter and Uranus, that you're looking at some kind of story of unexpected and surprising, exciting developments regarding trips, travel, skills-based education, and your marriage type partner, your main squeeze, or business partnerships. So you're going to maybe sign contracts, make vows and agreements with some significant other regarding third house matters, including writing projects, including travel. If you're a Pisces with a writing project looking for a publisher, for instance, the moon up here could say yes. And yeah, with the moon up in your 9th house, you may want to be taking foreign trips and foreign travel, or connecting more emotionally connected to a marriage partner, third marriage partner, and making agreements with that person, right? Saturn, moon in this. The moon up here can also be like, is there's a possibility that you want to accomplish something. It's still a pretty bright moon, right? It's not full, but it's just coming off of full. You want to accomplish something up there in your 9th house that would indicate a kind of illumination of a legal matter for most Pisces. And it may involve governments, institutions, and bureaucracies that you want to finalize it, some kind of legal matter with a government institutional body. And you're really focused on that quite acutely during the end of February and the first few days of March. maybe even getting an acceptance at an educational, a school of some sort that you want to be studying at and receiving your acceptance notice there. And it looks good on you, right? Because of the flow of the moon, not only to Mercury in the house of you, but to Juno in the house of agreements and contracts. Okay, I think that's everything. I hope that's useful. I hope everybody got something out of it. I can't think of anything else to say. This is legal contracts in business. This is vows and agreements with significant others. And it really is all about those third house stories. I mean, some of you may have your floating IC and whole sign houses in Taurus, and that can be, again, real estate contracts, agreements, property, land, especially. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, thanks for listening, everybody. Have a wonderful Mercury transit, February 23rd to March the 9th. Don't forget, my Mercury webinar is free. Check the description link below to get in for that webinar on the 26th. I teach you how to use this in a more deep way, including fixed stars and minor asteroids. I do these Mercury webinars for free. Other webinars are paid, but this one is always free on Mercury Kazimis, and this is a celestial lineup. You don't want to miss it. Don't forget, Sky Reader starting in April. You want to join in, check my description box below for everything I have to offer, including my Sky Reader class. It starts in April. Take care, everybody.